Start that then. Here we go. All right, awesome. Well, welcome to Signature 2020 again. We are thrilled to have each of you here this week. I am Solveig. I'm the Western District Secretary Treasurer for TBS. And before we begin, make sure to update your name to show your name, chapter, and pronouns. We are joined here today by the lovely Leslie Gartin, who's the TBS National Vice President for Communication and Recognition. And today, Leslie's going to teach us all about how to put the fun into fundraising and how virtual fundraising may look in your chapter this fall. So I'll go ahead and let you take it away, Leslie.
Awesome. Thanks for that nice introduction, Solveig, and thanks for having me, everyone. I've got a PowerPoint. I've also got polling on here. When I am sharing, I will not be able to see questions. So if anybody would help me out or give a shout out, or I'll see them after I'm done talking for a bit, whatever's cool by you guys. So, gotta make the sounds when that's a thing. There we go. Dang it. Sorry, hold on one sec. PowerPoint is good for not this. And we'll get out of here in a second. But so putting the fun in fundraising, as we talked about. Here's an overview of what we're going to be talking about. We'll talk about the purpose of the treasurer within the chapter. We'll talk about how fundraising committees work, and important steps in planning fundraisers, executing and evaluating them as well, how fundraising will change over this year due to COVID, and tips along with it. So, like I said, I'm getting out of this. I have this fancy poll for you. We've got two things on here. So, and it's all anonymous. So if you could say why you are here, what you would specifically like to learn about, that'd be cool. Just so I can have an idea of what specifically to talk about. Okay. All right, good deal. Good to know. I figured there was lots of questions specifically about COVID and how fundraising works. So excellent. Let me go back and try not to make this so clunky. I can show you what we're doing too. I don't think it's anything secret, but all three things sounds good to most of you, which is good. So I will be happy to do all of that. So now going back. Same, the two polls there. So job of the chapter treasurer is to compile the chapter budget, maintain the chapter funds, and execute appropriate chapter fundraisers. In other chapters, the treasurer is the chair also of the fundraising committee, and together they plan and perform fundraisers. So logistics wise, don't ask why there's a fire truck there. Just besides when I made that PowerPoint, it gave me the option to have a fire truck as a background. I'm like, why not? So there it is. No specific reason to it, but you can't turn that down. So looking at the logistics of a fundraiser, you need to focus on the purpose of it. Is the effort worth the reward? And is it appropriate for your group? Really, really focus on that. If you don't have that, it's going to be super difficult to perform a fundraiser or do a good fundraiser, honestly. So, and we'll get into that as well. So no fundraiser goes well without a specific purpose. This should be your mission statement. Determine why you want to raise funds, then figure out how to get those funds. People are always willing to donate more as well if they know the purpose of the fundraiser, if they get why, if it has a specific purpose. So yeah. Effort along with it, you need to determine how much effort is needed for this situation. So you need to work together as a committee or as an exec council, depending on what works within your chapter, to predict how this fundraiser will go. Look up past write-ups to see how much has been raised before and give your best educated guess. If this is a new endeavor, and that's the power of the internet, you may research like-minded projects and see what the financial outcome was. Look to see chapters similar to yours, an honorary service organization, college-wise, maybe the same size town, maybe schools within your conference because they're mostly the same size, stuff like that. So dual purpose along with this, there's nothing better than having a fundraiser that's also a service project as well, if you can find ways to make this work. This could count as doing a concession stand at your high school all-state band auditions. That's absolutely a service project because you're serving for music, you're doing things like that. Yeah. So if there's ways that you can make this work with your vice president of special projects or service, depending on what you have, definitely that is a win-win situation. So there's two types of fundraisers that we'll talk a little bit about. One, we won't really get into too much because with the way that everything's virtual right now, it's not really needed. It's capital investment fundraising. That literally means putting money up front for something. So back in the day before merchandise was online and people could order on a website themselves, people ordered shirts or whatever merchandise, so they had to put that money up front. Another version of this is like a service fundraiser. So like car wash, you would have to put money forth into getting the supplies to do the fundraiser. And then the one we'll talk about more today is ones that are no initial cost. And I've got some examples of that in the future as well. So yeah. So also thinking about fundraisers, is the fundraiser appropriate? How many of your chapter members are you expecting to be there? How many people does the fundraiser require? If you plan an event with too little or too many people that are actually in attendance, it could seriously cut into your money-making capabilities. So going along with this all just requires a little bit of planning. You think about the 5 W's and an H. This is kind of how you write a narrative for your English class, how you plan your dog's birthday party, but also how you set up a fundraiser. You think about who will be there, what you're doing, when this will be, where it'll be, why is what we talked about, what the purpose of it is, and how this will all come together. Very, very important stuff to do. If you're looking into doing a fundraiser and you don't know where to start, asking these questions, I think, are a really good start to it. So yeah. So something after you're done with the fundraiser, a lot of chapters struggle to do just because it's human nature to be done with something and just let it go and be done with it. But it's really, really important to evaluate how that fundraiser went. Maybe your next chapter meeting. Look at if you liked it, if it was something, was the fundraiser beneficial? Did it fit all the goals you wanted to? And most importantly, did you make money off of it? You can have yourself as chapter treasurer or even the recording secretary do a write-up. Oh, I said all that, sorry. Have them or yourself do a write-up about the fundraiser, especially if it's a new event. Do this at the next possible time you all meet together, so that'd probably be your next chapter meeting. Be honest, but facilitate meaningful discussion. Have time to talk about what you liked and what you didn't. At this point, you don't have to decide right then and there if you hated or loved the event, but most likely you'll have a strong opinion if you debrief about the situation as soon as possible. And the most important thing, I think, is to decide as a chapter if you absolutely want to do the event the next year or as soon as possible again, or if you don't, or if you want to reevaluate after doing again next year. Because sometimes there's going to be that situation. Be like, oh, this was good, but I don't think it was as good as what it could be. So I think it falls into those 3 categories in that situation. So as we talked about fundraising in COVID-19 times, fundraisers are going to look different this year. They might be something you honestly hold off on as a chapter if you're not meeting in person this year, and that's totally okay. As a sister of Tau Beta Sigma, it's against our nature to not be busy, to do something, something for the bands, to do something for your chapter, but maybe fundraisers aren't appropriate for this time. Look at what is needed. I'd say specifically, if there's a specific need that you need to raise funds for, go for it. And especially if your director of bands is asking your chapter for assistance. So here's some things to consider when fundraising in the time of COVID. So like we talked about before, understand the purpose of what you're doing. If there's no clear purpose with a specific monetary amount needed, be patient until those pieces fall into place. I know that's hard to do, but once you figure out what that purpose is, it's going to make everything 10 times easier to figure out and do. So, and also know that you may have to make alternate plans to what your previous fundraisers are to kind of fit a virtual world. Most in-person things are a no-go, or they probably will be in the future if they haven't yet. I know a lot of schools are even waiting until August 1st to make a full decision, band-wise, marching band-wise. Seems like the college presidents are waiting for the conference directors, and the conference directors, we don't know what they're waiting for. So, and we all get to be in limbo. So it's a great time. So I've got 5 different modifications or alternative fundraisers that maybe you have or haven't considered. So one is, like we talked about, if you haven't had done band merchandise yet, if your chapter does not do this and no other group has claim to it, take advantage of this opportunity. Talk to your band director about it. Most, if not all, screen printing companies have moved to online sales, and you can do everything through social media. Be creative but cautious with the things you'd like to sell. Get a feel from your chapter and send them polls on what things they would buy or not. That's as simple as SurveyMonkey, even a Google form, something simple as that. I'd recommend, if you're selling new things you're excited but unsure about, look into ordering the minimum amount of the item and see if the reprinting cost makes sense to, if it does go well like you would hope it would, to see if that's worth your money to just do the reprinting rather than just have 1,000 pair of socks that you didn't realize no one wanted socks at the time. But stuff like this, like sunglasses, shorts, socks, tank tops. I see tank tops a lot that aren't sold as much as they could be. So if you want to check out, and I will put this in the chat later, if you want to remind me, I can definitely tell you. I know a couple schools that do their band merchandise online already, and they have their own websites with it. That's really cool. Before I was VPCR, I was Midwest District Counselor, so I have a couple Midwest examples. The Kansas State University Marching Band, they have their own merchandise site that Delta Kappa, that chapter, runs, and so does the Alpha Iota chapter at University of Minnesota. So they make, this is what they both do for their fundraisers, and it's lots of like marching band grandpa and stuff like that, and they make bank off of it. So really not a whole lot of time investment once you get things going on it, and really big term of investment based on what you're doing with it. I think it's a cool thing. And it's not a service project, but it's filling a need for the band and everything like that. So it's kind of cool. Profit sharing. I don't know if I'm sure that you've seen these at restaurants. There's no reason that these have to go away due to not having dine-in services, honestly. Check with your local meal delivery service to see if they'd be interested in doing a profit share. I think if they could get more orders through the door, I think that'd be beneficial. I know a lot of college towns do they have something different than Uber Eats or Grubhub or anything like that. And specifically, if you have like a specific campus one, check into that even more. They'd probably be even more willing to work with you guys. But it doesn't hurt anything to send an email or anything like that just to inquire about it. That's definitely free. The third and the fifth thing I'll talk a little bit about together. So since we're on Zoom and know how that works, you can host, one thing you can do is host a masterclass. We were actually talking about this as a national council the other day on kind of doing, because we've enjoyed with, we had National Leadership Conference last weekend, and then we had DCL CODA, and then all the different district conventions. But just seeing different skills people have on the side and showing off different things, we're planning at some point to host master classes and just show off different things that we do. You can do the same exact thing. You can have some sort of tutorial on whatever your chapter members are good at. And what you could do is, you can't really charge a ticket price to attend the Zoom, but you could set up a Venmo, like your own personal Venmo, and then give that back to the chapter and have a suggested donation for people that attend. The way you keep these sessions private, like I'd say, advertise the heck out of it, honestly, because you want as many people there as possible. And seeing it, it takes some work, but it's not too bad. But the way you can keep a hold on this with Zoom is there's an option to have a guest list or only registered users. So each person that you send a link out to is their, only they may use it from their own specific Zoom account. So keeping privacy and keeping security and not letting it be free when you don't want it to, but it should be free. But then that recommended donation, I don't know how many of you have done anything that has recommended donations for things, but sometimes, and most of the time, that makes more money than an actual set price of things. Along with that, if masterclass, or if you want to do something different as well, since we're all musicians, host a virtual concert with that same type of setup. Have send out actual programs through email, like make it look nice, use Canva, something like that. And then have your members perform, have a specific concert, and have people give a suggested donation. Make it, so find your event planning people in your chapters, and then also your music majors that could program things to make it a certain way. I would say an hour, around an hour, is a good sweet spot for any concert, whether it be in person or on Zoom, but just keeping attention of people. So just varying what you're doing. This could be, if you have in your marching band, your featured twirler, if they would come on and do something outside with fire or something as like a special event. If your band director would go do something and show off something. Like solo events make the most sense for this. You could show a recording of something maybe you do together, but playing together on Zoom does not work, unfortunately. But those are different options. One last option is the fourth option I have on there is the virtual run walk 5K. You can have people do a suggested donation, then set up a certain time that they are set to do their 5K. You can even provide t-shirts if you would like. If you would like an example of this, the Alumni Association does one, and I think this is the 5th year they've done it, and they keep gaining people every year. They send all of their proceeds to the Mr. Holland's Opus Foundation, which provides instruments to kids in places that wouldn't have instruments. So some sort of foundation or fundraiser like that would be really cool. If you're looking for something to do and something to support, I think those are all really cool things. VH1 Save the Music is also a really good nationwide corporation or place that you can send funds to support kids in music. I think that's still a struggle, especially right now as we're figuring out how band kids are going to be in schools. And I'm actually going to a school board meeting right after this to help determine that. So for my school, but all those things. But I know there's lots more options than this, but it's definitely a good place to start. So I don't see any questions. Oh, we're cruising, we're doing good, cool. So next part, last part, how to make fundraising fun. Obviously, relatively, it's still a task we need to do. It doesn't necessarily need to be the most fun ever, but that's okay. We're serving a purpose. So fundraising is one of those necessary tasks that enables great causes, and it scares people a lot. both at the same time, really. Even when the needs are great, asking for money is daunting, and it's thankless, and it's a difficult task. The treasurer role and the fundraising role is not the sexy job within the organization, and that's okay. But if you think about it a different way, you can see fundraising as just an opportunity, just a really good opportunity, honestly. So the organization benefits because you have a chance to put your cause out there in front of people who might be able to help, or know someone you can contact. So here's some guidelines to make fundraising more enjoyable, at least. So your enthusiasm must be, let's see if it's the next one. Yeah. So your enthusiasm must be palpable and contagious. Whether it be in person or on social media and you're making advertising, soliciting donations, your words really matter with this. Stand behind what you're doing and others will follow. None of us are in Tau Beta Sigma because it was simple and it doesn't require work or anything. We do it because we want to serve. We want to have something good. We want to do something good. And this follows along with that. Something that I think it's forgotten about, not only in fundraising, just in general communication, use your manners. If you're soliciting, if you're making direct contact with people, say please and thank you. Be respectful of time, and you'll gain those contacts. You'll get those former alumni, or you'll get those alumni members who come back from homecoming. You'll have their parents still donating to stuff if they're still feeling valued, if they're communicated with effectively and nicely, really. So yeah, and then last part, be clear with your purpose. I feel like that should kind of be the theme of this, and that's okay. Just know exactly what you're doing. You never know what questions people might ask as you're touting the organization, but be prepared. Never say, I don't know, but always say, I don't know yet, but I'll find out. Something like that. So yeah. So another aspect of effective fundraising is the attitude. Apparently my husband's, I don't know if you can hear the oven dinging, but this is normal life in the Zoom things. I don't know if you were there, Solveig, for my presentation last weekend, but I think the dryer was going off and we had the Samsung sound. It was a good time. You'd think there's 10 people at my house right now. What is he? Anyway, sorry. So attitude is everything. Speaking of which, it's the attitude of you and your sisters. Do you have fun together? Do you enjoy one another? I hope you do. I'm pretty 99% sure that you do. You need to show that in your work. Appreciate one another. There's nothing quite like the bonds created when promoting one's passions with one another. So, one last task. We're gonna plan a hypothetical fundraiser. It's not gonna be scary, don't worry. So, thinking about the 5 W's and the H, we have the people available is the people here. So, there's 6 people available. This will be an online situation. We have $50 to spend, but we don't necessarily need to spend it. We will be raising funds over the next month. So it's kind of a short-term thing. And the reason for this is to raise funds to sponsor the marching band trip to Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Your director of bands requested $500 and more if you can. So let's have a discussion about this real quick. So does anyone have any ideas off the top of their head? There's no right or wrong answer. What fundraisers do you think would work in this situation?
Merchandise.
Merchandise. It's a good start. What would the merchandise be exactly?
You could do like, I don't know, probably not like Macy's Day Parade t-shirts, but you could, what if you made like a t-shirt that says like, I helped this band get to the Macy's Day Parade, something fun like that.
That makes a lot of sense. Things that are good about that is it shows its direct purpose and it advertises itself, really. Would that be a doable thing with 6 people? And how would you divide the work to make that happen? No right or wrong answers. It's all good.
I think the biggest thing to think about as far as effort is how much merchandise we're going to do and of what types.
Mm-hmm.
Designing a sticker is one thing, but designing a whole bunch of different things is way more time consuming. So thinking about how much effort do we want to put into it? Do we want to just do one logo that we put on everything? How many different things do we want to make?
Fair. I'd say depending on what 6 people you have, if you have one specific designer who loves Canva and rocks it out, I think you could leave it up to them with design. But that all makes sense to me. Any other thoughts or questions or ideas? We can go along with this fundraiser with the merchandise. We can do something else, whatever works. Thinking about what money we need, how much time we have, everything.
I think some of the effort splitting would also possibly be determined which kind of avenue or route we go for, like who we go through for the merchandise, whether it's all controlled by them or whether we have to order it and physically mail it out and everything ourselves.
So what would be, Teresa, what would be the advantages of ordering yourself and sending things out? What do you think?
That you could make it very, if you wanted to add a little personal touch to each thing, just kind of making it very like, thank you, specifically from us, rather than having it kind of show up in a generic little box.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. I think if you do bulk order like that, I think you'd have the opportunity to make more money too, and you'd know exactly how many things you needed to sell, kind of setting up your advertising for it. That would be a thing. You also have downfalls of if not enough people order stuff, you might be out money because of it. But all valid questions in there. Oh. Any other thoughts?
I was going to say my chapter, headed by Teresa for fundraising last year, we sold water bottles. Mm-hmm. Like Teresa can model because she has hers right there. Hey. With either the Tau Beta Sigma engraved on it, the logo, or we also did ones with like our marching band logo. And those were a huge hit for our band.
Were the Tau Beta Sigma ones, did you sell that within the Western District or just your chapter? Who'd you sell those to?
We sold those to just our chapter, I think.
We sold them within the chapter, but we were going to try to see how it kind of went on if we were going to take them to a convention to kind of sell them or whatever. But then it hit the, oh, hey, it's COVID time. You can't go anywhere. Goodbye. So that kind of stopped the ability to take them places. So that's where it kind of ended on that. But it was a huge hit with the marching band logo.
Yeah. I think both. I think you could still sell the Tau Beta Sigma ones if you use it on your guys' social media and use all of your sisters to share. I know Zeta Xi is a decent sized chapter, so. And that's San Diego State, right? Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, we've gotten much bigger in the past 3 years. Like when I became active, we were 5 people and now we're like 25.
That is helpful. So word of mouth and stuff like that is really helpful in things, and having those 2 options, like ones to the sisters and then specific marching band ones, like that sounds awesome.
And when we were getting them, they came in packs of 2 with like different colors. Mm-hmm. So in the document for picking them, I had people choose their first choice of color and their like second choice. So if one wasn't available when we got them, it's like, here you go, here's your other choice, but you still got one.
Did that all work out?
Yeah, it did. And in the end, there were some that I did have to end up mailing out because some of the engraving took a hot minute.
That's a thing.
But then it all ended up working out. So it went really well.
Cool.
and all the engraving was donated. So the only thing we had to pay for, well, actually my family also donated the water bottles. So we had no payout on any of it.
Nice. See, you have a nice donor for your cause within there. So that makes sense. Cool. Excellent. I see Omicron or Alpha Chi. Do you have any examples of successful chapter fundraisers or things that you are thinking about for the future?
Omicron had an idea last year that we ended up not being able to carry through with in a timely manner because of coronavirus.
Yeah.
But we were really excited about like, oh, let's make bucket hats because those are really in with the Pride of Utah right now for some reason. So we really wanted to make like all these different hats with different things on them, and ultimately decided that we could purchase just a patch that was customized to the Pride of Utah and then sew it onto pretty much whatever merchandise we could find for a lot cheaper. So we're hopefully going to be selling bucket hats and beanies and a variety of other things soon here for a pretty reasonable cost.
Nice. So something different that people like to see on different things. That's cool. Cool.
I also, there's online, I don't know if they're a brand or what they really call themselves, but marching band gear. They make like phone cases and mouse pads and a whole bunch of different things, and with like your uniform design or whatever design you really send in. And their fundraising option is they make you a full website with all of their options for anything, and it is your website. They make it, they do everything, and it's like no cost to you. I looked into it and it looked like they were very reasonable with everything, and they did everything really well. We didn't actually do the fundraiser with them, but looking at it, it looked really, really nice.
Yeah, if you could find that website and put it in the chat, we'll save that and have that as a resource. That'd be awesome. Good deal.
Yeah, for Alpha Chi last year, we have, well, the past 2 years, we had because we have NAU Band Day every year, and it was just like where states, high schools would come and compete and everything, and we would have, we started like a little merch table there, and what we did is we 3D designed and printed little like keychains to sell, and we made a pretty good profit on it because it doesn't really take much to actually like 3D print the things, because like my boyfriend and I, we have a 3D printer, so we just did everything like from home and put the little rings on everything. So
Elements not terrible or anything like that to buy.
Mm-hmm.
Production is moving inward, which is cool. So you can do a lot of that stuff. I think Cricut started it in screen printing shirts and everything, and now we're getting more usable 3D printers and everything like that. We're actually, this is a side note on there, but we're going back to school a week early. I'm in charge of our talented and gifted program, and we've got 5 industrial printers coming in. So we're going to make the face shields for everybody at the school. So
really cool.
That's the way of the world today, but here we are. Yeah, so it's just like, so you guys have the right idea on if you want to sell stuff, make it different, not just a t-shirt. Finding different things that people like. But yeah, cool. Thank you, Teresa. Yeah, cool. All right, I will put my contact information in here, but that was about where I was at. So just overview, understand your purpose within fundraising. How do you plan, execute, and evaluate how the fundraising went? And then just some different options for virtual fundraising as we move on to different times, and we're all sitting behind a computer screen in our childhood bedrooms. So that's a thing. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask at the moment. So I'm gonna mute, and so I can type and not clicky clack in everyone's ears. Dang it, I just sent that to you privately. Sylvia.
Yes, I just saw that. I guess I have a question to start things off. So how do you suggest like collecting funds virtually, and like what's the most efficient way to go about doing that?
The best way is going to be a private Venmo, like maybe if your treasurer has a Venmo, and then trusting them to use that within and send that money to your chapter bank account. We haven't started allowing or chapter debit cards or Venmos or anything like that, just because those can get sketchy with the chapter and with the EIN number and nonprofit status. But that's what I've seen that works the best. Venmo, you can also PayPal, you can use Zelle, whatever is comfortable that way. Just something available online that people have. I saw, I think last year, well, I saw quite a few things, but University of Connecticut were selling really cool sweatshirts, like crew neck sweatshirts. And so I remember buying one, and it was just a Venmo payment directly to somebody, and it worked out. Like then she told me when it was going to come out and got it sent to me. So it was cool. I wish there was a better option at the moment, but here we are with that. I know some campuses of your 3 schools, do any of you have P cards or anything? Is your chapter bank account run by the college, or are they all private? It's okay if private.
Our chapter bank account is run, well, we have 2. We have one through the Recognized Student Organizations Board, but we just got a part of that this year. So before that, we had a chapter bank account with the credit union on campus.
Okay, cool.
Omicron also uses the credit union on campus, and they have a program where you can input the email that's registered with that account and send it, and I think they use PayPal or something, but you don't have to mess around too much with it.
I think more colleges are going to stuff like that. So do you use the Omicron at tbsigma.org and it works like that?
Although last year we were using Omicron VPSP because we lost access to some of our accounts.
That's a thing.
It works.
I think, well, on these chapter emails, they've been around for a while, but I don't think a lot of them have been used. And so they were initially brought back forth for Overture. So we didn't have 2nd and 3rd degree recaps running around all over the internet and emails and stuff around the thing. So that also works for finances. I think that's cool. Cool. Zeta Psi, what do you guys do?
I'm from Zeta Psi. Yeah. We do the chapter credit union on campus.
Cool. Good deal. Yeah, those all make sense. And also
our fundraising payment has been going to my Venmo, and then I've been transferring it over to.
And that's totally okay too. Like if you have a 2-person system, like if you show your statements to the president or another trusted person, like just so you're kept in check, not just you specifically, but 2-person checks and balances system is always helpful with that stuff. Yeah. Any other questions? It's okay if not too. That means I covered all of the things. Cool. Well, you guys were great helpers and great contributors, and I hope this was a beneficial use of your time, and please feel free to contact me at any time you want. You can find me on the TB Sigma website too, or that email there. My phone number is there if you want to text or call anytime. Happy to chat and help you work out some stuff. So good deal. Thanks a lot for having me.
Awesome. Thank you for coming, Leslie, and giving that awesome talk. I'll go ahead and stop the recording now.